I was elected as a democratic socialist, and I will govern as a democratic socialist. I will not abandon my principles for fear of being deemed radical.
So I said, like, Zohran's like the hangover of wokeism. Nancy is the hangover of TDS. She reminds me of the, like, I don't know, this might be too elitist, but if you belong at a co-op meeting or a condo meeting, she's one of the elderly tenants who comes in and just complains that the kids are making all this noise. She's at her wit's end. But this is what an addiction to one idea gets you. I mean,
ever wonder what happens when a city runs into political chaos in slow motion? Well, New York has been getting a front row view, featuring none other than Zohran Mamdani, and just when you think the situation couldn't get any messier, Greg Gutfeld steps in with full energy to tell everyone exactly what's going on. It's like watching someone try to stop a forest fire with a garden hose. Awkward, confusing, and a little funny if you're watching from a safe distance.
2009, Zohran Mamdani, or whatever, the Socialist Democrat nominee for New York City's mayor, identified as Black or African American when he applied to Columbia University. I guess there was no box for trust fund communist douchebag. But it didn't work. He didn't get in. He probably shouldn't have included a referral letter from this lady.
If you're enjoying this, please subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you might think. So here's the thing about Mamdani. He showed up with promises as tall as the skyscrapers he's meant to protect. Affordable housing, check. Safer streets, check. Fixing the subway, maybe in another universe. And now Gutfeld is cutting through that image like a chainsaw through paper, pointing out the space between big promises and real results. And honestly, that space is pretty big.
Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani has been elected the mayor of New York City. You know, I never thought I'd be reminiscing about the good old days when Son of Sam was my dog walker. I haven't seen this many depressed New Yorkers since it got too chilly for me to wear bike shorts.
You see, Gutfeld isn't really known for being subtle. Subtlety is for people who still believe politics always stays polite. He goes straight to the point, calling out what he sees as the absurd situation of a city losing money, confidence, and even midtown taxis at the same time. It's like watching someone try to juggle flaming swords while blindfolded, except the swords are potholes and crime numbers, and the blindfold is political denial.
Zohran says he doesn't consider himself Black at all. I guess it was that Justin Trudeau kind of Black, where you just wipe it off at the end of the day. But it raises the often ignored question: how can you claim to be oppressed when you know the claim gets preferential treatment? I mean, why would anyone voluntarily choose an identity that supposedly holds you back unless you knew it could actually move you forward? So he saw the grift, using a false disadvantage to actually get ahead.
Now Mamdani walks around talking about reform like it's some new kind of artisanal coffee. But while he's enjoying his rhetorical cappuccino, the streets are filling with stories of chaos that no latte foam can fix. Crime is rising. Buildings are struggling, both metaphorically and sometimes literally. And the subway schedule looks more like abstract art than reliable public transportation.
Victory mean? Is it an omen of a woke future or a ghost of a woke past? True, he really is the hangover from a decade of heinous ideas where repeat of criminals are the victims, men can be women, and brain damage is considered a plus. But in this election, the votes cast were over 90% Democrat. That's one-party rule, a monopoly, which means it was a choice between bad and worse because there is no counterpoint to balance against extremism.
This is exactly where Gutfeld thrives. He's not just pointing out problems, he's calling out what he sees as a whole performance of incompetence. And every joke lands like the punchline of a sitcom nobody planned to watch. And let's be honest, New Yorkers are tired. They've heard promises of change from political figures everywhere, from Times Square to Staten Island, yet somehow the results keep falling short. That's where Gutfeld steps in with the precision of a surgeon, except the tools are more like a chainsaw, a megaphone, and that familiar sarcastic eyebrow raise that somehow comes through the screen. He breaks down Mamdani's record like a classroom science project, pointing the problems that keep piling up, From city frustrations to the constant battle with rats that seem to be winning, and Mamdani still insists everything is under control. Gutfeld's reaction is pure disbelief, the kind that makes you lean closer to the screen, wondering if reality is finally about to push back.
Incoming mayor for New York City, Zohran Mamdani, has introduced his all-female transition team. At least we think they're female. True, since Zohran won, there have already been a few minor changes to the city. For example, the naked cowboy has already been replaced by the naked goat. And now every play on Broadway is a...
And the humor hits hard because it isn't abstract, it's about real life. It's difficult to argue with someone pointing at City Hall, listing failed plans, and asking how a place known for Broadway, bagels, and streaming giants could also struggle with this level of dysfunction. Gutfeld isn't inventing a story, he's telling it in his own sarcastic way, turning what could be a dry critique into something entertaining. Take the housing crisis, for example. Mamdani promised affordable housing, but the results still feel more hopeful than real. Buildings go up, but complaints rise with them. People live beside constant construction, developers profit, and rents keep jumping like Olympic gymnasts. Subways stop without warning, buses seem to play hide and seek, and the streets feel like a lesson in chaos theory. Mamdani keeps assuring people everything is under control, while Gutfeld uses his humor to point out the contradictions. Because if a city's infrastructure struggles and no one talks about it, does it make a sound? In this case, yes, and Gutfeld is laughing at the echo.
If the party feels differently about that, as Jessica says, then they really gotta talk louder about it. Because that's the problem. You guys didn't speak up. You know, you grew this monster because you were too scared to discipline it as it expanded into every facet of our lives. Imagine if you had nipped wokeism in the bud rather than waiting for us to slay it with Trump. The Democratic Party are like parents of a criminal teen who raised him without any discipline or common sense, and then you released him into the wild, i.e. our world, and now we have to deal with it, and now you're going like, yeah, I predict that when he gets the nomination,
Meanwhile, public perception is a complete mess. Mamdani supporters try to defend him with lines like, "We need to be patient, change takes time," which sounds nice until you realize the city isn't just waiting, it's actively falling apart. And Gutfeld makes sure everyone sees it. The delays, the mismanagement, and the unintended consequences. He doesn't sugarcoat. He doesn't wink. He slams reality on the table with a mix of disbelief and amusement, turning frustration into pure comedy. And here's the best part. Gutfeld isn't just criticizing. He's exposing contradictions. Mamdani talks about equity and opportunity, while policies quietly favor developers, and bureaucracy grows like a bad joke with no punchline. Gutfeld cuts through the rhetoric with surgical precision. New York is a melting pot, a city where chaos can become art. But under Mamdani, some of that art is starting to look like abstract despair, graffiti in the subway, rats in restaurants, potholes that could swallow small cars. Gutfeld doesn't just point it out, he amplifies it, giving viewers a front-row play-by-play of urban collapse, wrapped in sarcasm so sharp you could slice a bagel with it.
He was lying to get what he wanted. Like when I used to tell women that I love them. He wasn't confused, he was calculating. Mamdani knew that applying while black could be a ticket past the velvet rope of Ivy League admissions. And that was in 2009. Since then, identity politics has exploded into a full-blown access pass for corporations, schools, girls' locker rooms.
The brilliance of this show is how Gutfeld keeps the momentum going. It's not just one sharp jab, it's a non-stop barrage. Every policy failure, every misstep, every overhyped promise stacks up like a house of cards destined to tumble. And just when you think it can't get more absurd, he raises the stakes, connecting the dots so clearly that you can't help but see the full picture. A city in chaos and a politician caught in the whirlwind of his own ambition. And the humor isn't just about numbers or policies. Gutfeld's observations are sharp, biting, and perfectly timed. He points out the little ironies. A councilman hosting a safety forum while crime is on the rise. A mayoral promise vanishing faster than morning fog. Or a politician unknowingly revealing his own tricks. and the audience can't stop laughing.
But it seems Zohran was handpicked. By who? Who knows? We know it wasn't for his resume. He didn't have one. He's a hard-left socialist with no managerial background, a disdain for capitalism and Jews. He's no different than a trust fund protester, except with a PR team and Soros's credit card. He's not even qualified to be my pool boy. Definitely not strong enough to lift me.
As this all plays out, the stakes feel ridiculously high. This isn't just some local disagreement, it's a glimpse into how city governance really works, turned up for entertainment. Gutfeld lets viewers watch incompetence meet wit, chaos meet clarity, and optimism collide with reality. And somehow, the laughter isn't just funny, it's revealing. When a city teeters on the edge, understanding the failures can be just as important as enjoying the humor. The patterns are clear. Housing programs stumble, public safety promises fade, and infrastructure projects stall. Each failure adds to a bigger story of mismanagement that Gutfeld dissects with pinpoint accuracy. It's almost poetic, a commentator using sharp humor to unpack policy, showing that the funniest moments are often the most tragic, because real people live, work, and pay taxes there. Yet from a distance, there's a strange satisfaction in watching a master of satire take apart what looks like a house of cards built on good intentions but poor execution.
Shocked in the green room that you asked, do you think that Zohran will be searched or frisked before entering the White House? And I thought, that's a provocative question, but you raised a good point.
What we were actually talking about in the green room is how much easier it is to change the diaper of a baby girl than a baby boy. That is legitimately what the talk was.
That's what we were talking about.
So Mamdani has grown up real fast in the first few.
That's the heart of this story, the clash between ambition and reality, idealism and incompetence, promises and consequences. Gutfeld isn't just commenting, he's holding up a mirror to the city and its leaders, reflecting a truth that's hard to ignore. Sometimes enthusiasm isn't enough, and even the best intentions can lead to spectacular failure. But when you present that with sharp wit, perfect timing, and just enough exaggeration to make it sparkle, it becomes content you can't look away from. The tension builds with every moment, and you don't have to be a New Yorker to see the irony. Each critique, each sarcastic jab, and every clever observation pull viewers deeper into the story, making them almost part of the unfolding chaos. It's like a slow-motion car crash told as a story, blending outrage and comedy in a way that keeps everyone glued. Every segment builds on the last, every point carries weight, and every punchline lands perfectly, creating a narrative that's as captivating as it is hilarious.
And what's his connection to the city? Ask him what he loves most about New York, he'll probably say diversity. The fact that you can dine in Chinatown or Little Italy, then get mugged in 80 different languages. But diversity is not what made New York great. It's one result of the system that enabled it. Capitalism, trade, industry, which attracts people like my natural musk on a hot subway. But for leftists like Zohran, they only see the goals, not the systems. If he had been Christian who celebrated Christmas, he might never ever connect that those gifts under the tree were there because of his parents' hard work. Nope, to him, the free stuff just appears. In this case, Santa is socialism and the taxpayers are the elves.
And the beauty of it all is how it keeps building. Gutfeld doesn't let the audience rest. Every failure, every contradiction, every broken promise becomes material, woven together into a tapestry of chaos, incompetence, and sharp humor. You can't look away, because the next revelation is always waiting, ready to hit harder than the last. By the end, it's more than commentary, it's a spectacle, a mix of critique and comedy that makes you laugh, cringe, and wonder how a city this big even keeps going. And somehow, it does, while Gutfeld turns the unraveling into pure entertainment. That's the genius. It's not just criticism, it's storytelling layered with wit. You watch good intentions collide with poor execution, all framed by razor-sharp commentary. By the final act, the picture is clear. A city teetering, a politician ambitious but flawed, and a commentator so precise and funny that every failure becomes the punchline, every contradiction a highlight, and every misstep a lesson in what not to do. And through it all, the audience stays hooked, entertained, and a little wiser about the messy, chaotic, and hilarious reality of urban politics. That's the story of Greg Gutfeld and Zohran Mamdani, A saga of promises, pitfalls, and punchlines delivered with timing, wit, and relentless honesty. Just when you think it's over, Gutfeld reminds you the spectacle isn't finished, and the chaos is only getting started.